Gilmore.
Well, I can't call it for quite some time now. The Labour Party has been arguing that the restoration of our economic fortunes and the settling of our public finances needs to be done over a period of years, not just in 1 year. So can I start first of all by saying what we agree with? The Labour Party agrees with the objective of getting back to the 3% by 2013. So I think the issue that we have to address now is how we're going to achieve that. Now, I welcome the decision that was made yesterday by the Taoiseach to invite the Congress of Trade Unions back into discussions. It is something that I called for at the weekend, and I'm glad that the Taoiseach responded to that. And I hope that those talks will take place soon, and I hope that it will avert the prospect of a national strike next Monday, or indeed industrial strife or strikes into the future. But the starting point, I think, of those discussions is going to be where you left off in January. Now, in January, you agreed a framework with the Congress of Trade Unions, which provided for a $2 billion adjustment in the public finances. That $2 billion adjustment was subsequently taken up by the pension levy and the other measures that were announced in January, for which there is considerable anger among working people in the country. Now, clearly the first item on the agenda is going to be what is the target now? Because since you agreed the framework with the Congress of Trade Unions that it would be $2 billion, the February Exchequer figures have come in and you've decided to have a second budget. And when I asked you last week or 2 weeks ago what the target was going to be, you said it was going to be $4.5 billion. Minister Smith intimated on television on Sunday night that it could be as high as $6 billion and subsequently retracted that. Minister Martin was in questions and answers on Monday night and said that nobody should be fixated about a target at all. Now, there has to be some goalposts here. So I think that you need to tell the House what is now the target that the government is trying to achieve for 2009. And insofar as you can tell us, perhaps you might indicate what it means for 2010 and beyond. But I think we need to have some clear idea as to what the target is. I did see, as Deputy Kenny saw, what Dr Ahern told your parliamentary party last evening. It's very similar to what he told a Labour Party meeting about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it is something now that the government appears to be subscribing to, that the 9.5% borrowing limit is no longer set in stone. And I think you need to tell us what that borrowing figure, or what is your take on that now. The third thing that I think you need to tell us is what is the trend in the March figures. I mean, you seemed to have been caught by surprise in February with the February Exchequer returns when you told us that the first you knew about them was when you were told about them at a cabinet meeting, and that subsequently caused the government to bring in a second budget. Presumably, you have been monitoring, and your Minister for Finance has been monitoring what has been taking place in March. So can you tell us if the position is going to be worse by the time we get to budget day because of what is happening with the March returns, about which you must by now, and we're well into the third week in March, you must by now have some take on it. So the two questions, Taoiseach, that I want you to answer me is this. Firstly, what is the target for the budget that is going to be brought in 2009? And secondly, what is the trend in the March figures, and is that going to make the February position worse? I want to thank the Taoiseach for explaining to me and to the House what is the normal procedure by which government formulates a budget. We're not in a normal circumstances, Taoiseach. This is an emergency budget. This is your fourth attempt since last summer at trying to get the public finances right. You asked, hold on a second. Hold on a second. hold on a second now. Hold on a second now, Taoiseach. Hold on a second now, Taoiseach. If you want to engage in partisan, you want to engage in partisan politics, you know, we come in here. I come in here this morning. Taoiseach. Hold on a second now. I come in here this morning, and I agree, as leader of my party, to the target that you have announced, that we get back to 3% by 2013. And I do that in the interests of the country, because I think it's important to communicate to the outside world that there is political agreement in the country and in this House about the overall economic and public finance objectives that we need to have. I offer to you on behalf of my party that we will be positive and cooperative in approaching the budgetary process. We ask you for information. You won't tell us what the target is. You won't tell us what the macroeconomic projections are going to be. You won't tell us the information in relation to the capital programme. You won't provide us with the options papers. You won't tell us what the trend is in relation to the March figures. But you'll come in here and say, well, we'll consider it all and we'll come in and tell you about it on the 7th of April. That's not engaging in bipartisan politics, and it's not responding appropriately to what there is, which is an offer from the opposition side of this House to engage constructively with government on this issue. And what you are engaged in now is you're engaged in a political smokescreen. Put out the idea. We've asked the opposition for their ideas. Where are their ideas? But you'll end up making all of the decisions. If you want cooperation from the opposition parties, you're going to have to behave a bit more constructively than you are behaving at the moment. And secondly, if you want the discussions with the Congress of Trade Unions to be meaningful, and you want to end up avoiding strikes and strife and public unrest in this country, you are going to have to level with them about what are the figures. Because you agreed with them in January. You agreed a 2 billion figure with them in January. That 2 billion figure is now gone with the levy and with the other measures, and you're going to have to, on day one, when you go to talk to them, you are going to have to tell them, because it's the first question they'll ask you. They'll ask you what is the figure now in the present context. What are you trying to achieve, and what are the implications in that for taxation and jobs and all of the and pay and so on, and all of the issues that they're concerned about. And if you're going to tell the Congress of Trade Unions that in discussions in government buildings, then you should tell this House what the target is. This isn't your money. This isn't the government's money. You're not running a private business over there. You're running our business. You're running the public business. This is about taxpayers' money. And it's about time that you came into this House, levelled with us, levelled with the people of this country about what is the scale of our problem, and let's all get down to dealing with it collectively.